So, what would it really take to get your hands on $17 trillion? Today, we are diving deep into a high-stakes story, a story about a nation's collapse, a secret treasure, and the powerful forces all playing for the ultimate prize.
Okay, let's set the scene. Our story kicks off with a dramatic, though fictional event set just a couple of years from now. January 3rd, 2026. A single post on social media announces a shift that's about to change the geopolitical landscape of Latin America forever. And it happens in the dead of night. In the pre-dawn darkness of Venezuela's capital, while the city is fast asleep, a perfectly planned military operation gets underway. Explosions light up the sky, hitting key military bases and infrastructure. The speed, the precision, it's just stunning. In only 47 seconds, U.S. Special Forces storm the presidential residence. They capture Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and airlift him right out of the country. Before the sun even comes up, he's on a U.S. naval ship heading for New York.
But this military operation isn't the real story here. The real story is about the decades of decay that made something like this even possible. How on earth did the country once nicknamed the Saudi Arabia of the Americas fall so far? To really get the why behind all this, we've got to turn back the clock. A whole century of massive wealth created a deadly addiction, and that's what set the stage for this total collapse.
For 100 years, Venezuela's entire fate was tied to one single thing: oil. Back in the 70s, oil money made the middle class so rich they'd fly to Miami just to go shopping. But then, Hugo Chavez nationalized the industry, and when global prices eventually crashed, that one single pillar just crumbled. The scale of the economic mess is it's hard to wrap your head around. With oil money gone, what was the government's solution? Just print more cash. And the result? An annual inflation rate of nearly 10 million %. I mean, people literally needed backpacks stuffed with cash just to buy a loaf of bread.
And the consequences of that? Well, they were absolutely catastrophic. This wasn't just some economic crisis, it was the complete collapse of a society. The basic things a country is supposed to do, provide food, medicine, safety, they just evaporated. It forced almost a third of the population to leave their own homes.
So, what was the official reason given for this fictional operation? To stop Maduro's involvement in drug trafficking. And look, that's a legitimate concern. But when you see what was really at stake, a much bigger picture starts to come into focus.
It's a believable cover story, right? The regime did have proven ties to narco-trafficking. But would a government really risk a potential war just for that? Or was there something else? Something buried deep under Venezuelan soil?
And there it is, the #1 prize, an estimated $17 trillion worth of oil. That's a fifth of the entire planet's known reserves. With Maduro gone, you can bet American companies like Chevron and ExxonMobil, who were kicked out years ago, would be looking for a way back in.
But wait, it doesn't stop with oil. Nope. In a remote part of the Venezuelan Amazon, there's a place called the Orinoco Mining Arc. It's believed to hold up to 10,000 tons of unexplored gold. At today's prices, that's another $1.5 trillion just waiting there.
And here's what might be the most crucial prize of them all. That same region is loaded with rare earth elements, the minerals that are essential for everything from AI chips to military guidance systems. Getting a secure supply in its own backyard would let the U.S. finally break its strategic dependency on China for these critical resources.
Look, these aren't just some abstract chess moves on a global map. These things have real, tangible effects that ripple across world markets. They can affect everything from the price you pay for gas to the future of your own investments.
From a geopolitical angle, this is about way more than just resources. See, Venezuela had kind of become a home base for U.S. rivals in the Western Hemisphere. An operation like this would be sending a powerful message, basically a reassertion of the Monroe Doctrine for the 21st century.
And then we get to the most modern, and maybe the most volatile asset in this entire story. To get around U.S. sanctions, the Maduro regime apparently turned to crypto. They started converting gold from illegal mining into a massive secret stash of Bitcoin.
Now, to understand the sheer scale of this, just think about this. Back in 2024, when Germany sold off just 50,000 seized Bitcoins, the market price dropped 24%. The Venezuelan treasury we're talking about is 12 times larger. The potential to disrupt the market is just immense.
So what happens to this digital treasure chest? Honestly, it's anyone's guess. It could get frozen in legal battles for years,
Or the US could just absorb it into a strategic reserve. Both of those scenarios would take a huge amount of Bitcoin off the market, which could send the price soaring. But a massive sell-off? That could potentially crash it. The stakes for the entire crypto world are incredibly high.
All right, so let's step back from the dramatic, fictional scenario for a second. Beyond the military intervention and digital treasure, this whole story offers some clear, powerful lessons that apply to pretty much everyone.
When you boil it all down, there are three massive takeaways. First, bad politics can destroy wealth faster than almost anything else. Second, relying on a single source of income, whether it's a nation's oil or your own job, is incredibly dangerous. And finally, it's a really harsh lesson about the nature of money and just how fast its value can disappear into thin air.
So in the end, this whole narrative, even though it's fictional, is built on a foundation of real events and real economic truths. It really forces us to look at our own systems and ask ourselves a tough question. Are we paying attention to the warnings, both as nations and as individuals trying to secure our own financial future?